Well, I think the biggest news on the African continent right now has, of course, been the much-anticipated Zimbabwean national election that took place on Wednesday, the results of which are due to be released pretty soon. But of course, a lot of tension in the country right now. People wondering whether President Robert Mugabe will hold on to power for, after 33 years, for yet another 5 years of term to come.
I mentioned to someone yesterday that if you've been a leader for so long and you've been in a position for so long, why if you, dis soos as jy in 'n bokskryt is. As jy weet jy die geleentheid om te wen, hoekom staan jy terug en laat iemand anders wen? So I think that's where they are at this stage. Also, one of the newspapers today listed the actual elections as hulle noem dit 'n bedrogspel, which means it's more than just it's more than just an elections. It's a stage where riot police are standing by because the tensions are just so high, and I guess this involves people, which is our passion, and it's really crunch time, as we call it. We do have a call on the line.
Yeah, we're talking to Ashlyn Lang, who's a reporter for The Telegraph, who's coming to us live from Harare. Good morning, Ashlyn.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for taking our call. Now, reports are that the mood in the country right now is rather tense, and there's an anticipation that there might be a violent outbreak should the results swing the way of ZANU-pf. Could you just maybe describe to us what you've experienced and what the mood is like so far?
Well, I mean, yeah, there have been a few riot police milling around yesterday in Africa Union Square, and there was also a truck of sort of uniformed police on the corner next to Harvest House, the MDC headquarters. But I've got to say, while, yes, things are tense, really, most ordinary Zimbabweans I've spoken to outside of the sort of political NGO, journalistic sphere, are basically shrugging their shoulders. I have heard, that there is calls for sort of Arab Spring-style uprising, and there's been quite a lot of reference to that and debate as to whether MDC supporters might take matters into their own hands. Certainly, I spoke to Douglas Monzora, the MDC spokesman, before the election, and I said to him, what will happen if this doesn't go your way? Yeah. And he said, we don't think our supporters are going to accept another huge fraud, and we don't think that they should be expected to. We can't control them, tempers will boil over. But, I drove through Africa Freedom Square where those riot police had been at sort of 11:30 last night, and there was nobody on the streets at all. So if it's going to happen, there's certainly no sign of it yet.
Wow. Are we panicking, prematurely, can I put it that way? Because as far as we know, have the official results been released yet?
Yes, last night we saw MP seats being announced, and it does look like what ZANU-pf has been predicting, a massive landslide seems to be on the cards. So far last night, the results announced by ZEC, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, gave 52 of 210 parliamentary seats to ZANU-pf and 10 to the MDC-T. Morgan Tsvangirai's party. They also bore out. I spoke to a senior member of ZANU-pf yesterday, Didymus Mutasa, who's the organising secretary for the party, and he said to me, "We're looking at a result that outstrips, the result we had in 1980 when Zimbabwe gained its election, its independence. That was 71%. On this occasion, he also said that we've won swing states, the Manicaland East and Mafingo, which previously had been MDC territory. Actually, the results that we saw last night seem to be, we haven't heard about Manicaland yet, but certainly Mafingo and Harare, another one he mentioned, seem to be going the way of ZANU-pf.
Yeah. Now, Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai has made no secret of it, that he thinks that this entire election was rigged, that it was a fraud. Are there any steps being taken to investigate this further, and what have been results of an investigation, if there have been?
Well, the independent electoral observers, particularly the Zimbabwe Election Support Network, which had 7,000 observers around the country and seems to be the most sort of respected of those groups, has said that there are serious concerns about systematic, changes made to the voters' roll, or a systematic effort to disenfranchise urban voters particularly. So, generally speaking, broad brush, urban voters tend to be MDC's constituency, whereas in rural areas it tends to be more ZANU-pf. And what he said they've seen is in urban areas it was much more difficult for people to register to vote in the first place, and then when they turned up to vote, they found many more problems. One of the statistics they gave was that in urban areas, at 82% of polling stations, people were turned away because they either weren't on the electoral roll or they were listed in a different area. In rural areas, that figure was 38%, so 82 to 38% is quite a big difference. They say that shows there might be some political bias there.
Well, Ashton, thank you very much for joining us, and
Thank
thank
you
you for bringing us that report from Harare. We really appreciate it.
Quite all right, thank you.
That is Ashton Lang, reporter for The Telegraph, bringing us the latest from Harare concerning the Zimbabwe national election that took place on Wednesday, the results of which are due to be released very, very soon. And I think the scary thing that I kind of pictured right now is what Ashton really just said, that MDC supporters are furious because of what's been happening. And the prospect of a possible, seeing an Arab Spring happening in Zimbabwe, and this total massacre of people, government against people, is something we don't want to see, because Zimbabwe is a beautiful country.
I always look at this, Katlego, and I think that, it's all about humans. It's all about people, and it's about feelings too. Yes, politics is important, but it's all about the people that live there. We all know someone that lives or that is related to someone who lives in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And it's really disheartening almost to think, for all of us, what can we expect from the near future in Zimbabwe? If we think immediately of what happens tomorrow or even as early as next week, what can we expect? And it's a little bit sad that it's a little bit unpredictable.
It is, because at the end of the day, we are an African continent, an African people, and we need to take care of each other as well. But we'll bring you the latest from the election as soon as those results become available.